Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
You know, like I said in the last episode, our mission was just to turn people on to craft beer. And more people, so many people were visiting the blog, it felt like a more authentic, a more valuable, more important way to keep the people informed. Whereas if I write for a magazine, something I write today is going to get published 3 months from now. It's going to get read. It's going to get read in a dentist's office 3 years from now. And that just doesn't matter as much as me being able to push stuff out on the blog on a daily basis and then push it out immediately on social media. And, you know, because that's the way the world is moving. It's moving quick.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington. Everything's going good. My name is Matt McLaren. I'm here as always with Ron Swerner.
Hello.
How's it going, Ron?
I had a really good time last week.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's been a whole week.
It was so wonderful.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Definitely don't have the same glass as last week. Yeah,
I'm wearing the same clothes.
Same shirt.
So yeah, if you listened last week, hopefully you know it's a double header, and it's going to be awesome because we're going to get into a bunch of extra stuff. Our resident professional brewer and line cleaner, Bethany Carlson, is on the mic. How's it going, Bethany?
Great.
Excellent.
Good.
Phaedra's on the mic still
Yes,
after a whole week.
still. I know.
Yeah.
You just can't get rid of me. Sorry.
You missed your 2 shifts. What's
did.
that?
You know, I show up when I want to, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. It's probably, yeah. And of course, we're back with part 2 with our friend Kendall from Washington Beer Blog.
Yeah.
Welcome back, sir, to part 2 of this episode.
I had such a good time last week, I decided to come back this week.
Yeah, make the
thank
trek
you
all
so
the way back
much.
down.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Traffic was better today than it was last week.
Yeah.
What are you drinking today?
I know. Yeah. What
yeah.
are you drinking this round, Kendall?
What did you call this?
That was. That was. Hang on. I think you have some Rauch beer in
I
front
do have
of you.
Rauch beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I have too.
Okay.
Yes,
I think we're all
I do
drinking a little
too.
Rauch
We
beer.
are.
Yeah.
So our homie Paul, who was on the Tacoma Beer Week recap episode, if you guys remember that one, who attended like 50 events that week, out of the 50 that we did, gets a chance to brew, I think, Logan's first lager at their new Kent location as a collab, which is awesome.
That's
So
That's awesome.
yeah, Browns Point Homebrew Club, of course.
So how did that happen? Just because
strong.
he's super special?
Because
Or
he's
was
super
it-
special, and also he asked Tristan for help.
Oh, okay. Right on. That's awesome.
I'm pretty convinced that there's something in the water out at Browns Point.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like nonstop with those guys.
Yeah.
Well, we talk to them all the time. They're like awesome and they do a great job. But just the well of knowledge that exists in that little homebrew club is bananas.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a good example. This is a fantastic beer, man. Nice one.
Yeah, it's really nice.
good.
Yeah, it is delicious.
I also like always expect more, like usually when like the candied ham kind of bacon is like subdued on like Rauch beers, I really like that. I feel like it makes it more food friendly usually, and this is kind of in that realm where it's like not as punchy on the smokiness.
That's really nice. Look at the clarity.
It's
I know.
delicious.
Yeah.
Even in the bottle,
So
it's like
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's delicious.
This is exactly what my home brews looked like back in the 80s.
Yeah, totally.
It's absolutely crystal clear and sparkling with a perfectly layered foam head on top. Oh, yeah. No problem.
So I do, before we get into extra stuff, because Ron has 10 more pages of questions to ask you. But if you guys heard in the last episode, so your gateway to beer was Tatty Porter by Sam Smith. And Ron had just mentioned that now last Sunday was Beer Day Britain. And you mentioned that you were maybe one of the only sort of civilians that has actually toured Sam Smith's brewery. Is that right?
It's worse than that.
Okay, good start.
Yeah. So because of my connection to Sam Smith's from when I was young and how it kind of started me down this fucked up road that I'm on, my wife and I had an anniversary trip, an awesome anniversary trip planned to England, and part of it was going to be in York and in Yorkshire. Mm-hmm. And we were going to be in Tadcaster. We were going to be driving right through Tadcaster. So I contacted, I don't want to mention names because I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but I contacted one of my friends at Merchant du Vin and said, dude, I got to get into the brewery. I got to tour the Sam Smith's brewery. And he's like, no, Kendall, man, they don't do that. They don't let people through this place on tours. Right. And especially media. They just don't do it. I'm sorry, man. I said, okay, don't make me call Uncle Charlie. And he said, and I'm talking about Charles Finkel, of course. Of course. He said, don't make me call Uncle Charlie. And he's like, God damn it. I'll see what I can do. And then he got back to me and said, okay, you got a tour. You need to be there at this time on this day. And it's like, right on. My God. So we got to go tour, and it's a trip. It's a trip. That place is a trip. It's like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. Sure. It's like going through that place and seeing those Yorkshire squares, and the end of it, you're just like going, this is a magic place. It's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory of beer. Yep. I mean, and there's like, they measure volumes and stuff with these pulleys and weights and shit. It's crazy cool. And got to meet the horses, the huge draft horses that they still use to deliver kegs, barrels of beer to places around Tadcaster. Oh, it's amazing. It's crazy.
Beer nerd heaven. Oh my God.
But at the same time, every other corner in London, there's a Sam Smith's pub, and you're like, oh, there's no way they make all that beer here. And it's like, that's why I say it's like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I have no idea exactly what's going on, but I know I've got to tour that brewery, and it's freaking amazing, and it was cool. And I so thank my friends at Merchant du Vin for getting me in there. And that's as much as I'm allowed to say about it. It's like, they literally, I was like, literally, it's like, I'm going to tour this, but I can't write a story about it. So the story that I just told is like about as much as I ever should do out of my honoring them and the ability for me to get to, it was kind of an off the record trip. So I think telling people that it's like a crazy cool place and you just can't believe it, and that I get goosebumps thinking about it, that's enough that I need to tell you. I'm going to start to cry.
Goodness.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Someday, Ron.
Yeah, someday.
That is, that is really amazing. It's also funny that you were just like, don't make Daddy Charles give you guys a call. He's gonna loosen up his bow tie, and everybody's gonna be upset. And let's just avoid this.
Yeah, it's nice to have that Uncle Charlie card in your pocket sometimes.
Totally.
I've used it more than once.
That's like a super valid use of that. Yeah. I also really like that. So like for those of you guys who aren't familiar, this brewery's been open for fucking centuries, for so long. And after a while, they were just like, you know what? We don't do this anymore. We don't bring randoms here.
Yeah.
I just have a picture of Charles with his bow tie undone, like James Bond, like at the end of the night, untied or whatever, in his suit jacket or tuxedo or whatever, and just like, listen. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think I do.
Shake and not stirred.
Before we get into anything else, so this is all, so today's, Wednesday the 11th. So this morning, we were talking about this before the first episode, but this morning, the Brewers Association released a new style definition that you ended up publishing a little bit about. And we haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but what new style definition did the Brewers Association add to the craft beer world?
Well, of no interest to this show, West Coast style Pilsner. Of no interest to this show, they further defined the two types of Czech lager. Mm-hmm. But of great interest to this show is they introduced style guidelines for Mexican style lager.
Yeah.
So now
So-
we all know what the hell is a Mexican style lager.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm sure our podcast had
Yeah,
something to do with
absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
I'm
right?
almost
We
positive.
were
that
like,
you
what
guys
the hell,
influenced
guys? Get it together.
One of those 71 people was like, "Hey, we got to do something about this."
Yeah, so they introduced 4 different versions of the light, pale, amber, and dark.
Excellent.
And so I was thinking about it, haven't heard you guys talk about it.
Mhm.
This is the podcast of record when it comes to Mexican
We're
style.
gonna take
lager.
that.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's interesting that they broke it up into 4 categories, and it's good that they did because it was really confusing before. That you
Yeah.
could pick up Modelo Negra
Yeah.
and a Corona and put them next to each other and go, these are 2 Mexican lagers.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one is better? I don't know. They're completely different beers. One of them's, they're just
Yeah,
completely different
they're
beers.
just-
Right.
So
Same.
it's cool that they did actually, and I like in the story that I wrote on the Washington Beer blog, I kind of mentioned that it's like maybe they did this because I don't know. From what you guys said, I heard what you guys said about it, and I still think like Mexican lager was always just kind of a throwaway term. I mean,
Sort
it's
of.
a lager made in Mexico. I mean, and people say, no, it's about using flaked maize. And it's like, well, corn. I mean,
Yeah.
American brewers have been using corn.
For
They were using
so
corn before they
long.
were using barley.
Yeah.
I mean, corn is in so much beer. So there's nothing uniquely Mexican about using corn, and just calling it maize instead of corn doesn't make a difference. It's,
Right.
so
Or
out
putting
of all-
lime in it.
out of
Doesn't-
all respect for some of those great Mexican beers, it's like I was always troubled with the idea of what makes a Mexican beer, one of those Mexican lagers, different than an American lager. And I mean, I don't know. Is it like pornography? I can't tell you what it is, but I know it when I
I
drink
said
it.
the same thing. That's what I was saying. I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
I can't define it.
Yeah, I think
So-
I think the whole craft beer world has been like that since the popularity of Mexican lager, and that felt super weird because why are we're kind of dancing around, sort of adding legitimacy to this region
Yeah.
that is obviously affecting the industry in a way, but how
Absolutely.
come we're not really talking about what it actually means?
Modelo is the #1 selling beer in the country.
in America,
So there's something about it. It's not just marketing. It's not just the beach and the lime in the top of the bottle and things like that. I mean, there's something about the style that appeals to people. So, and craft brewers are, nothing if not copycats. Honestly, I mean, and that's, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like, they want to make the kind of beer that people want to drink. God, thank God. That's what I want them to do.
Yeah.
So, and so I was like, I kind of said like either these, the style definitions will help us, award beers that are made in some sort of Mexican tradition, or at least beers that are made in the way that, I mean, maybe it's a style that American craft, as far as I'm only talking about the way the Brewers Association defines it, is maybe this is just a response to the fact that American craft brewers have now kind of invented a style that we can nitpick and take apart. Whereas those true Mexican style lagers are just the beers that they made.
Sure.
And just happened, they weren't trying to make a Mexican style lager.
This is just the beer.
It's just the
Making
beer they
a
made.
beer, yeah.
And so, like you guys know, because this is the show of record of Mexican style lager, there's an interesting story behind it. And you can't even say that it's all entirely Mexican. The evolution, the line of evolution is not even entirely Mexican, really.
No.
Right.
So, but I mean, no disrespect to any of the brewers in Mexico. I mean, actually, craft beer in Mexico has got its own thing
It's
going
kind of
on.
doing.
Yeah, it's
we
got its
talked
own,
about that too.
its own cool thing going on down
Yep.
there. So yeah, I don't know. That's one of the things I think it's cool that they finally made it. So we can differentiate. Now we can start to figure out which one of our American style or American brewed Mexican style lagers
Are actually
is better than the other American brewed Mexican style lager.
Yeah.
I'm looking over at Lyra specifically. She's like, I'm so fucking sick of this.
Larry's sitting there going, would you please stop talking
Just
about
make-
Mexican lager?
Why are we defining everything so specifically? Just make good beer
Just
and acknowledge where it came from.
good beer.
And then put a lime in it.
Put a lime in it.
Yeah. Is there any mention of lime in the Brewers Association guidelines?
You mentioned Washington Beer Blog. What's that?
Oh, wow. Oh, well.
That's a nice loaded question.
That's, I don't know. It's,
You went from beer church to
The beer blog. Well,
well,
did you?
they
there's,
overlapped.
the beer blog, it started out as a book in about 2007. We met a guy who had written a book called Washington Wine Trails, and it was about going around and visiting all the wineries and winery tasting rooms and stuff in Washington. And I thought that'd be a really cool thing to do with the breweries. We could do a book and tell people about all 65 of the breweries in Washington. And by the time we actually wrote that idea down on paper, and there were 85. And then by the time we actually started to map it out, like what would it, because authenticity, we'd have to go visit all these breweries. Damn it.
Yeah.
By the, you just thought, it was like, it's going to take us 2 years to visit all these breweries. And by then there's going to be twice as many breweries. So it was like, this is stupid. So we had, I live in West Seattle and have for a long time. And the West Seattle blog is a nationally recognized neighborhood blog that is like, when we hear a siren go down the street, you log on to the blog to find out what's going on.
Sure.
It is everything, everything that's going on in West Seattle because of the West Seattle blog. They are amazing. Tracy Record is a absolute boss. And I wanted to do something like that for Washington beer. I wanted to be the West Seattle blog of the Washington beer scene.
Yeah.
And that was my original thought. And Kim and I decided that, this whole thing does work better as just being a blog, something we can keep up with the industry's growing. Because that was like 2008 when I started the blog, and then 2009 when I really started to work on it. And, because of the economic downturn, all of a sudden everybody was looking for a job and they were making their own jobs called breweries. And am I wrong? I mean,
Not at all.
I remember a brewery that is now in Tacoma and has been on other places. I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah.
They, their dad literally told me, he goes, I trust my kids with my money more than I trust those bastards on Wall Street. So it's like, okay, so now I know where they got their money.
And
to
then they
start their
started-
brewery. They got money from his dad. His dad
They started a brewery and he was like, fuck.
No, I think
That's not what I meant.
here's how fucked up it is. He's like, my son's starting a brewery, and I trust starting a brewery more than I trust those bastards on Wall Street.
Okay,
that's how bad
what
Wall
Pepsi-
Street was at the time, right? So, so I mean, there was a lot of that, and there was a lot of people who were just like, the industry grew. You guys know, everybody was there. The industry grew so much between 2008 and say 2014, and even now. I mean, there was this skyrocket, and you can see if you go to the Brewers Association website, you can look at there's like a timeline of the number of breweries in the United States, and we just get to that point where it hits like 2008 and it just goes skyrocket.
Yeah.
We went from like having 1,500 to having like 7,500 in like 4 years or something, and it's crazy.
And then it doubled in another 4. It's insane.
So I mean, and we at the Washington Beer Blog just kind of rode that wave. We just like, there's just more and more of the interest in what we did just kept going up and up and up. And I was writing for magazines and stuff as well as doing the blog, and it just more and more I kept realizing I need to focus more attention on the blog, and so many more people are getting turned on. Like I said, like I said in the last episode, our mission was just to turn people on to craft beer, and more people, so many people were visiting the blog. It felt like a more authentic, a more valuable, a more important way to keep the people informed. Whereas if I write for a magazine, something I write today is going to get published 3 months from now. It's going to get read. It's going to get read in a dentist's office 3 years from now. And that just doesn't matter as much as me being able to push stuff out on the blog on a daily basis and then push it out immediately on social media. And, because that's the way the world is moving. It's moving quick. And, you plan today what you're going to do this weekend. You don't plan what you're going to do on the weekend 3 weeks from now, unless it's something that you have to buy a ticket for or make reservations for.
Right.
The world moves fast these days. Yeah. And it just made a lot of sense to start the blog.
And you decided to do it on WordPress too.
Originally, yeah. And I still do. I still use WordPress.
Yeah.
I would, awesome. if I were to start it now, I'd probably do something on Substack.
Okay.
Sure.
But for me, it made sense to do it on WordPress at the time.
Yeah, instead of Blogger.
instead of blogger. Oh, God. Dude, we're old.
Yes, we are.
Would you ever move over to
His
Substack?
live journal beer
I
blog.
am on Substack. I
are?
haven't
Okay.
figured out exactly how to make that move from what I do on the blog. Other than just like publish the same stories over there, but then I have to build an audience over there.
Right.
And I probably should do that, you know?
It's a pretty popular platform.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
and-
kind of where everybody, it seems like where everybody is, or a lot of people are.
A lot of
or
people
whatever.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm all about, you know,
Yeah.
finding people where they are, not
For
trying
sure.
to get them to come to me.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why, you know, that's an interesting thing that I think a lot of craft brewers could learn from is the idea of, you know, find the people where they are. So
Yeah.
if you open a brewery right now, if you're opening a brewery right now, I'd highly advise that you make like a really good Pilsner, a really good light lager, a really good West Coast IPA, and then you can fuck with everything else.
Yeah.
But if you can't do those well, you're not finding the people where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Forcing people to find you, and it's getting harder and harder, man.
Yep.
Was there anything about your perspective on the craft beer world that changed after you started kind of writing more full time as like a journalist in the industry?
Oh, you know, it was so different when I started. It was still very amateurish in a lot of ways, not just the beer industry, but like what I did. My peers in the world of writing about beer, if you want to call that, it was still pretty amateurish. It's become so. I mean, this is getting more geeky into like what I do because I'm now I'm a member of the North American Guild of Beer Writers. It's like there was no such thing as that. There were only a handful of people that would even imagine that they could be part of something like that.
Right.
Now there's a whole guild of us, you know, and it's pretty impressive. But you know, I think the thing that changed for me was it went from seeming like it was like a really small hobby, like the people that I knew who started with Red Hook and the other people that I knew that worked for other breweries and stuff. It was all so small and such a tight-knit little community. It started to become like bigger, but there was still a sense of camaraderie. Through that massive growth, there was still a sense of camaraderie, that idea that, you know, the tide raises all ships.
Sure.
And there was still some competition, but now there's more competition, but it's still healthy competition. I think everybody realizes that we're all in this together. I just want to do better than the next guy. I want you to do well too. So that's kind of like that attitude about the industry has changed. And, you know, I try to remain, I have a lot of friends in the industry, and I have a lot of personal opinions about people and about breweries, but I try to keep that aside. And I try to just report the business as the business is.
Sure.
And, but yeah, you know, things have changed some, but I think we've made a turn now. I'm going to speak honestly here. We had a period there, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, where a bunch of douchebags got involved in the industry. And yeah. I mean, I don't know. You guys were there. There was a bunch of people who got involved in this industry because they thought it was a way to make a buck. They thought, you know, and they thought it was a way to make a buck. They thought it was, you know, they thought it was cool or something. I don't know what they thought, but they weren't us, you know. And now we've gotten back to where we're us, you know. And I think that's pretty cool.
I think there is totally a generation, like it's kind of a blip compared to maybe other industries. But you probably see it in things like tech. You see it in things like, you know, any like emerging industry where people feel like they could make money off whatever is happening, just kind of insert themselves into it and then try to become the faces of it. And like, you can very clearly, when you're in that world, you can very clearly and plainly tell when it's inauthentic and it feels like an imposter is here, kind of taking credit for the work that we've been doing for however long. And I was only just getting into it kind of back when that first happened, which was maybe like 2012 to like 2014 or 15. But yeah, even then, I feel like you could kind of tell. Like,
you kind of tell. And the thing is I feel like the people that we were all, you know, the people that those of us who are kind of deeply involved and embedded in the industry, shall I say, in those days, the people that we were suspect of, that, you know, we then are gone.
That's true.
The ones that
Thanks,
we
Rat
liked,
Magnet.
that we thought were really cool, they're still there, you know?
That's true.
So the beer blog started out as you going around and documenting all the breweries. Right.
We'd hoped to, but
So you had a first look at Fremont and first look at Georgetown. Is that correct?
I first look at. I don't know exactly what that means.
Okay.
There might have been people.
But first, like
when Georgetown
you
moved,
wrote about them
yes.
first.
Well, there was nobody else to write about.
Right.
If I wasn't going to write about them,
Yeah.
nobody was. Honestly, I mean, there was nobody that was going to write about like Fremont Brewing when they were opening.
Right.
I remember going into Fremont Brewing and Matt Lincecum showing me a little cardboard diorama of what the brewery was going to look like.
I love that.
It was like something that a kid would make in elementary school, cardboard cutout and everything, and the little logos taped onto places and stuff.
Like a New
That's
Balance
adorable.
box.
And the thing
Like
is,
a Wes Anderson movie.
I might even have a picture of that. There might even be a picture of that somewhere on my website. But the thing is when they finally opened, that was before they opened. When they finally opened, I'll be damned.
He nailed it.
He nailed it.
Yeah.
Close. The original spot.
Look at the little people in there. They're in the
Yeah.
right there. They're
Look at all the little people standing around all the little barrels.
Those little tiny beers.
Yeah.
And then
And then Georgetown, Manny took me through the new Georgetown facility as they were, I think, getting ready to move in there. And that I've always loved, telling the Georgetown story because that's just one of my favorite stories. They're the best. Roger and Manny are like two of the best people I've ever known in my life. And God, I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that that's the brewery around here that has succeeded the way that it has. I'm so happy. I'm proud. I'm proud they're our Seattle brewery.
Mhm.
They would come to your birthday party.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah,
just,
they're just amazing.
Yeah.
They are.
They're just good.
They were episode number 3-ish. for
Something
us,
like
3 or
that,
4,
maybe, yeah.
3 and 4.
yeah.
They're amazing.
They were like, I mean, like to their credit, like very early on, we were like, hey, we're trying to do this thing. And they were like, hey, we'll come down and support that
Yeah.
and like hang out for an episode.
That sounds exactly like them.
And it's, I mean, like, and obviously like Sean, who did Bob's Night for so many years, like,
Yeah.
but like, we talk about Georgetown all the time. They're such an insanely unique example of like what a beer business can be right now.
Mhm.
They still somehow manage to stay like so relevant on the craft side,
Yeah.
and then are just like not enormous, but they're certainly the biggest craft brewery in Washington. And it's like,
But you have in craft beer, you have to think about perspective. I mean, we say that Georgetown is big. They're like, I don't know what they're going to do. Let's just say 150,000 barrels this year. If they do that, 125, I don't know what they're going to do. If they did 200,000 barrels a year, they're not big.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not big at
Right.
all.
that's true.
They're not big by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
If they were 2 million barrels a year, I would have trouble saying that they were big. It's just you have to. Just because we know a lot of the breweries that we know and love only make 1,000 barrels a year,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that 150,000 barrels a year is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to their tap room and drink some of the beers on tap that aren't called, Lucille or Bodie, and you're like, they are still so relevant.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
True.
it's 150,000 barrels a year is not too big.
That's I certainly don't mean too big. It is
They're
just
big
the
enough.
size that they are, and like it's hard to imagine another Georgetown, any brewery growing to be another Georgetown in the next 5 or 10 years. They've just done such a good job with balancing their position on both sides, and they're awesome. And yeah, it's like,
Here's a story I love to tell. You talk about like things that have changed since I started doing the blog.
Yeah.
Is when Fremont came along, I said, don't imagine you're going to be the next Georgetown. No, yeah. And then when Balebreaker came along, I said, don't imagine you're going to be the next Fremont. And then Rubens came along, and I said, don't imagine you're going to be the next Balebreaker.
yeah.
I'm not sure I got the order exactly right on that. But
That's it kind of goes down the
there
line.
is still room for another Rubens Brews.
Yeah,
There is still room, but
just gotta find it.
Yeah, you gotta find your place, and you gotta have a really good plan for doing that.
Sure.
Kendall, what's the brewery out there that nobody knows that's excellent?
Can we answer that after we come back from a break?
Yes,
So
we
I'm
can.
just
Back from the break.
Ooh,
That way I can think
stay
about it.
tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
But yeah, stay tuned for Kendall's answer when we come right back.
Hi, this is Eric Hanberg, co-founder of Channel 253 and host of Citizen Tacoma.
I'm Doug Mackey, the sound guy.
And we are here because we are asking for your support for Channel 253 with a membership. $4 a month or $40 a year truly helps us keep this operation going.
And if you're feeling particularly generous, we do have another level that is $253 a year.
That's right, the Tacoma level. Whatever level works for you, you can support us. Keep us going. Keep the podcast flowing. We truly appreciate your support. Channel253.com/membership is the place to sign up.
And if you remember already, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out during the break.
Oh, yeah, he is right.
As always, a quick shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer, for making us sound awesome every single week. And to Chris for putting us on video.
Thanks,
if you guys
Chris.
haven't yet, please go check out Great and Greg Podcast on YouTube. And do check out Channel 253. Absolutely fantastic network of local podcasts. It's a great way to stay connected to Tacoma. And it's especially important these days to really dig into what your community is going through. Things are getting real important.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, man.
Love your neighbor.
Love your
Yeah,
neighbor.
no kidding.
And be the type of city that the current government wants to call the National Guard on.
And be proud of that.
There
Absolutely.
you go. All right.
All right, so we all have
We have new beer.
no.
All right.
Or barley wine.
Shake it off.
It's terrifying,
Barley
man.
wine.
Wine,
More
too.
barley wine.
That's fine. Hey, man, I think we've always stood on, beer was born political, and most of the styles we all love came from how beer was taxed. So,
I know, right?
yeah, I think beer and politics are,
Mm.
pretty intertwined.
Mm.
But, things are getting pretty fucking scary. So,
More beer.
so more
Let's
beer.
drink.
More
Let's drink
beer.
more beer.
So, yeah, what are we drinking here, Ron?
We're drinking the same thing, but aged in a wine barrel. So we're getting some blueberry and vanilla.
Yes.
Are you?
So if you guys listened to the last episode, we drank Lumberbeard's 5th anniversary, and they did a variant that they aged in wine barrels with a bit of blueberry and vanilla.
Yeah.
And this is delicious.
It is delicious.
Very good.
And the customer was right.
And your customer was right.
Yeah. So I will tell him when I see him.
Yep.
I will let him
Tell
know.
him Matt was wrong. He was right.
He'll say I know.
Well, it's just miscommunication. The words on the screen said
Matt
something
went home,
different. All the things.
Drank himself to death.
He was asking
wrong
me. He
about
was
a beer
asking me, and it was
thing.
super busy, and I didn't have time, and all the things. Anyway, he'll be thrilled.
That is
But
delicious.
it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's they're
So Ron still has 8 pages of.
He apparently has my entire
I think he does.
biography or something. Jeez.
I do. I know. I don't
Now,
want
I was
yeah.
wondering what breweries are out there that nobody knows that are outstanding, that people should know.
Okay. The first one that comes to mind is you mentioned that this coming Sunday is Britain Beer Day or Beer Day Britain.
Beer Day
Britain.
Britain.
Yeah.
Beer Day Britain.
Yeah.
So by the time you hear this, that day probably would have already passed.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go visit Machine House.
yeah.
Machine House makes some of the most fabulous. They make great beer. Some of it
Yeah.
just happens to be that English style cask ale.
Yep.
And I went to England in 2018, and I was worried that I was going to, and I drank a shit ton of cask conditioned beers. That's pretty much all. I spent one day drinking what they call American style craft beer. Otherwise, I was drinking traditional cask ales. I went to like one of the largest cask ale festivals in the country and stuff. 400 cask beers at this ale festival and stuff.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
focused my entire trip on drinking cask ales. And I came back and I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to go to Machine House. And oh no, I hope it's okay. I hope Bill's doing okay now. I hope. And then I went and I drank and I went, yay.
Yeah. Dude, Bill sets the fucking
He
standard.
He
man.
is definitely standing up to some of the best cask ales that I had in England.
Yep.
And his beers are fantastic. And I know a lot of people would say like, oh, I don't really like that style of beer. It's like, oh, go try his beers, man.
Yeah.
And they're low. Most of them are low ABV, still really rich flavor and stuff. And yeah, so I think I kind of like when he opened that brewery, I thought, you're out of your freaking mind, you know?
Yep.
But then when Burt Grant made an IPA, I thought back in 1989 or something, I thought, you're out of your fucking
out of
mind.
my
I want to drink this beer. It's way too bitter.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Another perfect porter, please.
Oops.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first one that comes
That's
to
a great
mind
answer.
is Machine House. There's so many great breweries, and we mentioned earlier all the great breweries. I don't know if it was last episode or this episode,
yep.
all of the
Spokane.
great breweries over in Spokane. I mean, if you're looking to do a road trip for beer, there's a lot of great towns to road trip to, but holy cow, I mean, Spokane has got a great beer scene.
Dude, they really do.
Yeah.
Eastern Washington.
Eastern
Yeah.
Washington,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
between Spokane and like the Yakima area.
Yakima.
Dude, you can find some
Good beer.
world-class beer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You guys might remember Bill being also kind of an early episode for
Very,
us.
yeah.
And like it's, if you haven't gone back and listened, like Machine House is your favorite brewer's favorite brewery in general.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good point.
every brewer that you're just like, oh, you would stand in line for their beer, goes and drinks at Bill's brewery after they get off work, or they collab with him when they have free time on their brew schedule. He's that dude. And so like drinking his beer really is like a different way of connecting to the industry, but also connecting to like the international beer world, because he sets the standard for English ale. And apparently even in England.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, he's legit. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. That dark mild is my
Spokane
favorite.
is
Oh, the
great.
dark mild.
So good.
And then the in March when they do the March mild, March
March
mild,
Mildness.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great time of year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, he's posted up now, so like he's off of Rainier, right next to like the popular Ethiopian spot, and like we've
Yeah.
gushed about this before, but man, we need to take a
Oh
food trip.
no, there's two really, really good Ethiopian
Oh, that's true.
restaurants.
They're almost like
Yeah.
kitty corner.
And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
both really highly rated. They're
Yep.
different. One's more fancy sit down, and the other one's more takeout kind of.
Yep.
But they're both apparently really good.
And they all pair great with dark mild.
Absolutely, everything pairs well with dark
That's
mild.
Yeah.
It's so universal.
That's awesome.
Dude, not to like add an answer to your question that you asked Kendall, but like there's a fucking like Project 9. I swung by there the other day
Yes.
after they
Oh,
just
yeah.
won their World Beer Cup medal
Yeah.
in IPA category. Those guys are fucking killing it right now.
Yeah.
Where are they?
They're like almost
Lake City Way.
Yeah, Lake
and
City.
Ian,
Yep.
and
Like
so
right when you
in
get off that exit.
the Roosevelt neighborhoods. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also mentioned Recluse, which
Recluse is
Oh yeah.
doing great.
Everything I've tasted from them, I haven't been there
Yeah.
yet, but everything I've tasted from them is fabulous.
Yeah. And the
But
guys
we
like,
are so blessed in this state.
I mean,
We really
my
are.
God, we have so
We're
much
so-
good beer in
there's
this
so
state. It's
many.
Why
ridiculous.
homebrew? Why homebrew?
That's brilliant. But, I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
totally.
Don't tell Paul. Shh.
Good job, all your
Homebrewers,
great.
homebrewers keep homebrewing for sure.
Yeah, please.
I was going to talk about all the articles you've written for SIP Magazine and Seattle Magazine and all that. You were named a SIP influencer, one of the top recognized beer people with wine and spirits in Washington State. Also, you've put on tons of events, and you've written some really great travel stories. But I want to talk about the Hop Mob.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, the hop what? The hop bottle?
The Hop Mob.
Yeah, the
Washington Hop.
The Triple IPA
Mob.
festival that you,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
Okay,
you
yeah.
invented.
Yeah.
I didn't invent it. Oh, well, okay.
You and
Adam.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam Robbins.
Yeah.
Adam from,
from Reuben's Brews.
thank you.
Yeah, because he had originally come up with the idea and he kind of put it together the first year, but then he came to me, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn, Adam, but he came to me and said, the problem is I'm having to go to these accounts and stuff, and they're thinking it's all about me, so I need to have kind of an objective third party involved in it. And I was like, I'll do it. It's like, yeah, so we can blame the shit on me. So, so in terms of which breweries can be involved and stuff, I mean, Adam was not doing this at all, but he felt like, I think he was worried that people would feel like it was kind of like an invitational thing. And that,
And gatekeeping or whatever or something, or just keeping some people out or.
yeah. And
some
then
people
because he
not
was
in-
one of
yeah.
the breweries
Yeah.
involved, he was choosing favorites or choosing his own or
Oh,
focusing on his.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. But it made sense to have me and then Nat from Brewers, rest in peace, picked it up and worked on
Brewers,
it with
not
him.
Nat.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, not Nat.
Not Nat.
Nat
Browers.
We love
not
you,
Nat.
Browers.
I'm so glad you're still around, dude. But yeah, so
It's like
yeah,
half our
so we
listeners
came
are like, wait, what the fuck?
and the thing with that was the insane popularity of Spiny, Pliny the Younger.
Mhm.
The hoopla that was going on with Pliny the Younger with, let's see how fast we can drain our keg of Pliny the Younger. You know, it's like that whole thing that was happening in 2014-ish. We thought, well, let's prove to the world that we can do triple IPAs as well as they can, which may or may not be true. But we decided that'd be a great reason to have like a bunch of events and stuff. And so we started Hop Mob as a way for Washington brewers to showcase how well they could make triple IPAs. And at one point we got to, we had, this is insane, 50 triple IPAs on tap at once at Brewers.
At Brewers?
One of the events, there was at least 50, there might have been 52, something like that. And I'm like, you know, how much triple IPA can you drink?
It's like a barley wine fest.
We're going to find out. I mean, I'm looking at it as how much triple IPA can I drink? And then I'm looking at it as the bar, like, how much triple IPA can you sell?
Yeah.
It's a huge, you're just taking a big loss for the sake of doing the event. And I really appreciated Vern and Nat willing to step up and just go, look, this is an important thing and we're going to do it. And we're going to lose a shit ton of money on all these kegs that we buy. I assume they did. I mean, how could they not, right? You know, you own a bar. I mean, how could you not buying 50 kegs of triple IPA? You can't. So, I mean, it was awesome that they supported that event so much. And it was awesome to see how many our Washington brewers stepped up and really, really passionately pursued triple IPA. Not an easy style of beer to brew. And in the end, I have to be honest with you, there was, you know, it's kind of like, I remember there was a strip club in Seattle that, you know, said, you know, 50 naked women.
Deja vu.
Deja vu.
I was going to say.
47 beautiful women and three ugly ones, right? And I was like, I kind of felt like with Hop Mob at one point, it got to like, you know, 50 triple IPAs,
3 barley wines,
12 beautiful ones, and 38 ugly ones. To be totally honest with you, and then it kind of made me respect what Vinny and Russian River has done with the younger. You know, I mean, it's a remarkable beer, and it was always the standard that everybody was trying to hold themselves to. Yeah. And some breweries did it better than others. And, you know, it's not an easy style beer to make. And I appreciated a lot of people picking up. And then we had to change it. You know, it eventually got to the point where it was too stupid. We were just like, no, nobody's going to drink triple IPA. Let's just make it beers of exceptional hop character and all this nonsense. And it really lost that Hop Mob thing. And I think Reuben still does it, but they just do their triple IPAs because they like making triple IPAs and they make good ones. And then they invite a few of their buddies in that still like making triple IPAs. But the idea of it being that crazy roadshow thing that it was, where we had 50 of them on tap at once, that's
I tapped 10 one year.
What a beautiful time it was,
dude. So like, speaking of somebody who like sells beer to you, like for a long time, Hop Mob was like, it was my favorite time of year because like, I like it when breweries push the envelope and do good versions of beers that are really hard to do. And you're right, there was like a very popular kind of benchmark for the style that you can kind of compare it to. But also I was selling $250 kegs to people for like 8 weeks. And all I had to say was, oh yeah, this is their Hop Mob beer. And everybody's like, oh shit, yeah, I'll take one. Yeah. And it's just like, you guys grew it to such a thing where it kind of became its own brand and had its own sort of like ether in the beer world.
Shit,
where
dude. I wish I would have known that.
Yeah, man. It really, like so there are some
I would have
breweries,
capitalized on it somehow.
There are some breweries who still repeat some of those recipes now, and I still go, oh yeah, this was their Hop Mob beer, and people still are like, fuck, I'll take it. And it became auto sales for so long. You guys did such a good job of building the identity around this sort of type of beer, and the really good examples were the Hop Mob versions, and that was it. And that was such a huge thing for so long. As somebody on my side, like it was my favorite time of year. It was awesome.
Yeah. Reuben's still makes it. Yeah. Deal breaker. Yeah.
Yep.
No matter what, they just automatically do it.
Yep. Because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Postdoc still does theirs every year. The Hogus Maximus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
What year is that Hop Mob, or how many years did you do it?
Yeah, we did.
2014 at launch.
14 in launch in 14.
Yeah. A magical year for beer in Washington, I think.
Yeah, in 2014 it was kind of the golden year. Like we could just do anything.
Yeah.
it would catch fire.
Especially high ABV stuff. I feel like the higher alcohol was like
And if it had in 2014, if it had those 3 beautiful letters associated with it, IPA, anything flew.
True.
Man.
Triple. What's that?
Triple.
If double is
IPA.
Yeah.
This must be better.
Kendall, of all those travel stories, beer travel stories you used to do, or you still do for Seattle Magazine, which one did you love the most?
Wait, he's supposed to answer that after the break.
What?
What?
Isn't that what you're asking?
No, he's asking.
No.
He's asking for fuck up.
Oh,
Probably.
you're asking for fuck up.
Oh,
I haven't done anything.
Okay.
Oh, I
he's
thought you
just
were
sitting
doing
there minding it.
Wait, never
He's
mind.
just sitting there minding his
I know.
own
Are we?
damn
I'm trying to
business.
get Bethany closer to the mic.
Oh, that's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was it South
All right.
America?
Sorry.
No.
My bad.
Okay.
No. My favorite story that I did that was called Cowboy Paradise. And it was a place called Chico Hot Springs in the Paradise Valley in Montana.
I know that place.
You know that place? I'm glad Bethany knows that place because part of what I'm going to say here involves the fact that so many people know that place because Chico Hot Springs is a special fucking place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's where Jeff Bridges met his wife in like 1969 when
I
he
love
was
that.
when he was filming Rancho Deluxe.
Whoa.
He met his wife there. And the story is classic. I mean, I don't have to make this a Jeff Bridges thing, but like he went into the fancy ass.
He's awesome.
The dude went into the
The
fancy ass
dude.
restaurant at Chico, and his waitress had 2 black eyes.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
he asked her like, "How'd you get the black eyes?" And she made up some story like she'd been in a car crash or something. And he ended up asking her out and going out there, and they got married, and they're still married.
That's so cool.
Wow.
And he has a place in the Paradise Valley, and John Mayer has a place in the Paradise Valley. My uncle sold a piece of property to Peter Fonda in the early 70s in the Paradise Valley. The Paradise Valley is a very special fucking place on this earth. It's absolutely beautiful. The Yellowstone River runs through it. It's, the west entrance is at Gardner, or the north entrance is at Gardner, and the river comes out. And Paradise Valley is fantastic. Chico Hot Springs has been there forever. It's been there since Cowboys have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a hotel, and then a hospital, and then a dude ranch, and then a hotel, and then a hospital again, and then a hotel, and still it thrives on now as a resort. And during one of those periods where it was a hospital, 2 of my uncles were born there. So my family still has property in the Paradise Valley. So it's very, very close connection, very real for me. And I didn't know how real it got until I was planning this story to write about this place, having been there before, but not really having to explore it like from a kind of a journalistic or a writer standpoint. And I was, exploring my history with the place. And I found out that my grandfather helped build the barn at Chico Hot Springs. When it was one of the first things he did when he landed in America. He was an immigrant from Wales. And when he landed in America, one of the first things he did was he helped build barns in the Paradise Valley. And the big barn, the one where you rented horses, the one that was full of the horses, where if you were going to rent horses, that's the horse barn. He helped in like 1914. He helped build that barn.
That's where
So,
your
like,
dad came from. It's Montana.
Yes,
That's right.
my
Yeah,
family is
yeah.
all from Montana. Yeah. So when I go into that barn, and I put my hands on those beams and stuff, it's like a real connection for me. So that
cool.
and plus, Chico's just cool as hell. I mean, it's like it's way less. It's a hot springs, but it's way less spa and way more party. And I mean, you can go to a super fancy ass restaurant there, or you can go over to the saloon where you got to worry about bumping a guy's pool cue and getting your ass kicked. and everybody's ties and ball caps and stuff are stapled to the ceiling. And I mean, Chico Hot Springs is the shit. It's the coolest place. And I got to write that story, and it came, and I think it's a really, really good story. And it came from a very, very authentic place.
That's so cool.
Very
And
cool.
I wish I could write more travel stories, but usually when I'm traveling, I just like to travel. And not have to worry about it too much.
Not be on the clock.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, but it's already time for fuck up stories.
All right, Grit and Grainers. I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So please do regale us with your fuck up stories.
It sounds like you have maybe a beer-related one.
I do have one, and it goes back to something that we talked about in the previous episode, where we talked about the Firestone Walker Invitational.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this was shortly after I started the Washington Beer blog, and I wasn't sure anybody was paying attention to anything that I did. Number one, I didn't think anybody was paying attention to what I did. And number two, I wasn't taking it maybe as seriously as I should have. I was not yet a member of the Society of Professional Journalists. I didn't understand. I learned very quickly that I needed to, if I didn't subscribe to that level of journalism, I needed to at least live by their code of ethics. And I learned it because somebody emailed me from California and said, "You're not going to believe this, but Firestone Walker has been acquired by Anheuser-Busch." And they sent me a link to a story, and I read the link to the story. I don't remember where it was. And it was like somebody was saying, like, yeah, Firestone Walker signed this agreement. And there was like all these quotes. They were saying our beer is going to be more widely available in all these places. And this is going to be a great deal for us. And I'm like going, holy shit. So I published a story on the Washington Beer blog that Firestone Walker had been acquired by Anheuser-Busch. And I found out really, really, really quick that people were paying attention to what I published on the blog. And I also found out that story was not true. That they had signed a distributor agreement with which, having spent plenty of time in Southern California, I can understand. You know, the big white truck that says Budweiser on the side is like the only truck that pulls up in front of most places. Yeah. So if you're not with them, your beer's not getting out there. So it was. Somebody confused them signing with an AB distributor and signing with AB. Yeah, and I wasn't smart enough. I was young and stupid. Now I'm just old and stupid. So I wasn't smart enough to really follow up and dig into it. I just went ahead and published it. And it's like, I walked away from that going, well, learning moment, you know. Sure. The people at Firestone Walker are probably never going to talk to me again. Dude. But, you know, it was harsh. But I take it as a learning lesson. And it made me realize that a lot of people that do what I do, who are kind of hobbyists writing about beer and stuff, don't take it that seriously. And that's how bad shit gets spread out there. Yeah. So, you know, it was painful, and I felt horrible, and I was embarrassed as hell, and it was a complete fuck up. Yeah. But in the end, I mean, it made me realize that I got to take what I do more seriously in that, and I can't just publish stuff because it's what somebody said, and I don't even remember what article I read. I mean, some dumbass wrote some stupid article, and I took it like it was scripture. Right. Sure. You know, it's like, fuck, what was I thinking? Yeah. Anyway, I mean, the lesson to question everything is probably a very valuable one. So.
It's a great lesson. Yeah. It's like you brutal. Read it and then you just like, that doesn't, maybe I should double check that.
Sure. I mean, we can fast forward a few years after that. And then, I'm talking to somebody who is and was at the time very deeply employed at Elysian, telling me a week ahead of time that they were about to be, that something was about to happen. Yeah. And I'm like going, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah. Not until I take that call from Dick that tells me, Kendall, you're not going to believe this, but this is what happened. I'm here in a room with somebody from Anheuser-Busch. And I'm like, now I can report the story. Yeah. That's the level of certainty I need to move forward with certain things. Sure. If it's just like, somebody's got a new beer coming out, well, that's this kind of fluff and fun. Yeah. But news, I got to be more diligent. Yeah. And I learned that lesson pretty early on and I apologize, Firestone Walker. Please let me come to your beer festival sometime.
I'd like an invite.
I'm going to be in Paso Robles in October.
All right, Grit and Grainers, email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and future hop mob names such as Octomom, Ornery Octuple, Triple IPA. Put you in the penitentiary, Triple IPA. Triton's Taint, Triple IPA. Mobro, 4000 Garbage Barge Triple. Peterbilt Engine Factory, Hearing Damage Quad IPA. And of course, this will kill you, Quadruple IPA. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as fast as we can. If not, then on air. If not online, then on air. Yep. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Barley Wine, and iHeartRadio. And please leave us a review. Also check us out on Channel 253, Douglas. And Grit.
Barley wine.
Barley wine.
Yeah. GritandGrainPodcast.com.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for episode notes, beer news, and Kendall Jones reflecting on the internet life of 2008 when he skipped Friendster, Dreamwidth, MySpace, Blogger, LiveJournal, Tumblr, and all those tell-all Gen Next journals only 10 friends and one exhausted therapist ever read. Back then, the entire culture and eventually the world workforce was mutating, spending hours scanning profiles of yet another pale, spazzy, good Charlotte fan from St. Paul. After browsing through 253 photos of Bella's drunk, giggly friends at hookup parties and reading about her love for Hello Kitty tattoos and desire to pierce her eyebrow, you reach a fork in the digital road, and where most veered towards social chaos, Kendall chose the road less traveled, WordPress, and that has made all the difference.
Oh my God.
If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. Hey, Kendall, any chance you form Kendall Jones and the blimey humorless kick-ass blasters performing punchy up-tempo rock songs with gritty guitar riffs about living life as boldly as a triple IPA?
No.
No such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma? No such thing as too much bottle wine? Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Cheers.
Kendall.
Thanks, Kendall.
Hashtag double episode.
Everybody come back for part 3 and 4.
I know, right?
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Get up.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you. Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Move to Tacoma, Interchangeable White Ladies, What Say You, Citizen Tacoma, and Kitchen 253.
This is Channel 253.